Hello, everyone. My name is Professor John Aubert, and I want to welcome you to Summer 2021 Online Physical Geography, Geography 300. I want to make this little intro video quick. My goals personally are, one, just to make you feel welcome and supported here in this online class. Two, I want to give you a quick peek at what the class is going to be about. Three, I want to familiarize you with the syllabus very briefly because I expect you to read it carefully. And then four, I want to take a quick tour of Canvas so you know kind of the highlights of how I have it set up. Um, yeah, let's leap right in. I'm going to share my screen here. And honestly, this is what the class is going to be about. It is June 3rd, 2021, when I'm sitting here recording this, and this is a very recent animation, satellite animation um, from over 20,000 kilometers above the equator, looking down at Earth. This is only one of many satellites that monitor Earth, and it really gives kind of a fascinating view of um, sunrise for the day on Earth. You can see all manner of interesting things. These clouds here in the Amazon are rainstorms that are um, helping feed the rainforest here in the Amazon. You can see a very crystal clear day here in California with coastal fog. You can see a storm brewing off the coast of Antarctica. You can see a little bit of a dust storm coming off of West Africa. This is essentially the theme. This image, this set of images really gives us a window into what the subject matter of the course is going to be. We're going to look at the atmosphere, the gases surrounding Earth, the weather. We're going to look at the oceans and how they impact the weather. We're going to look at the land masses and things like earthquakes and volcanoes and moving continents. And then we're going to look at life. Why do we have tropical rainforests where we do? Why do we have deserts where we do? And how do humans fit into this whole thing? So that's really the quick summary, frankly. Um, I'm going to jump over to the syllabus, and as I said, you should have been emailed this. This is obvious, available very obviously on the Canvas site for our class. So I'm not going to dwell too long, but this is, as I said, our class. Information on how to get a hold of me. These are my official student hours, but I'll make myself available if you're not available during those times. And I have set up an extra credit assignment for you to check in with me. And if you can't check in with me on Zoom, then I'll let you check in with me just with kind of a written update of how things are going once a week. So we'll talk more about that, but here is my Zoom link. Information on how to get a hold of me, and I'm just going to go through this real quick. What do you need to be prepared? What is required in this class? Please read through this very closely. You can ask me questions at some point later. We're going to have one of those check-ins I talked about is going to be mandatory during the first week of class, and I'm going to give you a little bit of extra credit for that. And so I'll show you where to find those dates and opportunities. So yeah, please read through this very carefully. Just because I graze over something here, please don't assume that it's not important. I do want to highlight this. To be successful in this class, you really should have the right technology. Now, I know people as of summer 2021 still don't have a huge choice in whether to take on-ground face-to-face classes, which some people prefer, or online classes, which again is what is mostly available currently. But you should have some sort of desktop computer, laptop, or tablet style computer to be successful in this class, not just a smartphone. There are students who try to take entire college classes and write paragraphs and papers and essays. There's not huge essays in this class, but there's writing, and they try to do it on a smartphone, and it's really not recommended at all. Also, let me just say, for the first time and of many times I'll say this, a Chrome internet browser works absolutely best in my personal experience with the way I've set up quizzes and exams. So yeah, you can read all this. What are you expected to learn? Here it is. What is required in terms of assignments? Here's the breakdown. It's a 500-point course. That's how I have it set up so that it's really easy to keep the points keep track of the points. And here is a breakdown. If you want an A, get 450 at least. If you want a B, get 400. And if you want to, at the very least, pass, your target is 350. And I will bend over backward for students who want to experience this course and pass and get credit. I will bend over backward to get you to 350. But regardless of what Canvas tells you, they'll give you little updates. Like if you do the first assignment and you get 10 out of 10, Canvas will tell you you're getting an A. Well, you kind of have to complete the entire course before you're going to get an A. So always be really wary of what Canvas tells you, because it's not over until it's over. I want you to get to the finish line. And if you want to pass, you need to get at least 350. And certainly I have students who do better than that. So take a look here. I expect your participation. I will be keeping track of your participation. You need to read all this. There is some extra credit. Um, Frankly, let me tell you that this thing called Exam Boost and the exam insurance, these are automatic extra credit. You don't necessarily have to do much. You can read about them. To get the Exam Boost, you have to take the quizzes. Generally in this summer class, it's one a day during each weekday. And you can take them and retake them. They're good study aids. Um, so to get the best possible exam boost, you need to do well on those quizzes. If you blow those quizzes off, you won't get an exam boost. And then this check-in here, as I said, once a week, I ask that you drop into my student hours, drop into my Zoom office, and usually it'll be kind of like a group session. And it's described here, and I'll give you 3 points for each visit. You can visit more times than that, but if you visit once a week, I will give you 3 points for checking in. If you can't possibly do it, there'll be an option to answer some questions and do kind of a write-up and tell me how things are going. But I want you to be engaged. I want you to know that there's a real live person on the other end of this online class. Okay, so what are exams like? Read about it. Quizzes, again, you're expected to take them and retake them. I will always keep your highest score. But let me say about the quizzes is you get new questions each time. So if you take them and retake them, then you're going to see a greater variety of questions. And I use questions very much like that for the exam itself. Discussions, this is another huge meaty part of the class. And let me say that the discussions are purposely open-ended for you to comment on things that spoke to you from the material, but they need to be totally related to the material. Um, and it can't just be a restatement of something you learned. Students, especially students who are tired and they're working a lot and they're taking multiple classes, they simply want to just restate what you learned, or they want to do some random little internet research, or go to Wikipedia and tell me something random. I don't want that. I want you to carefully read the directions for each discussion. They're summarized here, but I want you to go and read those instructions uh, when you get to the link for the discussion itself. Um, and think thoughtfully about what you're going to share, or what you're going to ask. So again, I will give you feedback on these discussions, but what I have here is kind of a general statement about what I'm expecting. If you just phone it in and it's clear that you're just trying to meet an obligation, you won't get many points. I'm looking for students who are putting in some effort, trying to be thoughtful, trying to think about the material. And then you also have to comment on somebody else's discussion. There are homeworks which are posted in the modules. You can find those. Frankly, I think they're self-explanatory. I'm not going to talk about them now. There is a late assignment policy. The class goes fast. So what I do is I set benchmarks. This isn't really self-paced because a student could take forever. We need to get this done in 4 weeks. So what I do is I set due dates and I set benchmarks but you set your own daily schedule and weekly schedule for the most part. And there is a very small penalty if you're a day late. It's 5%, or 2 days late, it goes up to 10%. But the penalty stops at a total of 30% penalty. So you really can't do worse than a grade of a C on any given assignment. So I'm actually, because I give you other extra credit, because I let you do those student check-ins for extra credit, I'm not going to excuse anybody's late assignments, especially in summer. You just need to keep up. That's the way it works. And again, if you aren't able to keep up, the penalty is actually very small. You just get it done. I leave all the assignments open until the last day of class, which is, I think, very generous as a teacher. So if you're not getting something done, at least get it done by the end of class. And the penalty really is only going to be a point or two or three here or there in a giant 500-point class. So keep up. If you're having difficulty, let's talk about time management, and I will help you. As I said, I'll bend over backward, but I need my students to step up, and especially with a 4-week class, it goes fast. There's a decent amount of work. And speaking of a 4-week class, when you do the math, you should be devoting approximately 40 hours per week. So please keep that in mind. Some students can do it in less. Some students who are really organized and efficient can do it in less. Um, if your goal is really to barely pass, you can probably do it in less. If your goal is an A, you probably need the full 40 hours. But again, everybody's different. So please read all of this in detail. I'm not going to read the entire syllabus. But I want you to know I love my job. I love teaching. It's a little bit weird to have moved all of this online because I really like to have students face to face and interact with students. But you can major in geography. You can get a jobs related to geography. And I'm happy to help students do that. I'm really happy to help students do that. There are even great transfer opportunities um, at Sac State. You don't have to go very far. Um, so here is the course schedule for this class. And what I strongly recommend is that you print this last page. I've printed it. I posted it right there in my workspace right here. You can even use it as a little checklist. I've designed it so that you can physically check off items if you need to. But basically, um, just before midnight, every weekday, there's something due, at least one thing. You need to look ahead if you might need extra time to do something. Like here, I've snuck in a map quiz. You look at the module. I'll show you where to find this stuff. Um, these map quizzes, I let you take and retake. I believe I let you take them 3 times. Um, Here's a homework, all in the first week. Unit 1 is the first week of class. So please look at this very closely. The very first module of the week, I don't make it due on Monday. It's assigned on Monday, but I make it due on Tuesday so that you have a little bit of catch-up time. So you notice the due dates for each day. There's a quiz and a discuss followed by a discussion, and I give you the due dates. So notice there's a Tuesday due date, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And if you can't get these things done by the due date, there's only a very small penalty. Get them done within the next day. And again, it's a fraction of a point in some cases if you absolutely can't get it done. But I recommend setting a very clear schedule. Um, and sticking with it the entire week. That's really kind of an important hallmark of successful online students is you set a schedule with very specific times, very specific days, uh, and a very specific place in your home, in your dwelling, that you are hopefully not distracted. I know everybody is different, and it can be hard, even in my home, to avoid distractions. Um, but that is my recommendation. So please look very closely. This schedule is also completely embedded in Canvas. So um, let's jump over to Canvas right now. And again, this is all stuff coming down the pipe the very first week. So as soon as you see this, you really need to get started. The first due dates are Tuesday just before midnight of the first week of class. That's Tuesday, June 8th. So here is our Canvas page. And just a couple of quick things. A lot of people are familiar with Canvas. Over here is where they generally list the stuff that's coming up. Um, And so if you want to know what's coming up, well, first of all, you can look at the syllabus, but second of all, you can look at this little list over here, and you can look at the calendar. It will list the things that are coming up. Um, Let me say that I will try to update the assignments for any particular day. I will try to update right at the top of our Canvas page. So every morning or maybe late the previous night, I will go in and I will say what is essentially you need to be working on for that particular day. So that's just one way to keep track. Um, this is the very video that I refer to right here. So this is the welcome video, welcome message, which hopefully as you're looking at this, you've already read. Um, this is a checklist that I expect you to complete. It doesn't, maybe it takes 20 minutes or so. And then here is the very first module. There's other great information down here, so you should take a look. Here's information again on how to visit me during a student hour in my office. And these weekly check-ins for extra credit are mentioned here. But here's one of the big things for this class is that whenever I say there's a discussion or whenever I say there is a quiz, the way to find work for my class is to go to modules. So there's some great links over here. You should set up your Google Drive, by the way. If you want to check your grades, you can check your grades, but modules is the key to passing through and moving through and completing the work in this class. Modules, modules, modules. So you click on modules and what do you find? First of all, you find the required checklist right at the top of the page with the very first item in the checklist says begin here. So follow the directions very closely and clearly, and it will walk you through exactly what needs to be done. There's a little syllabus quiz. There's a student information survey. I want to learn a little bit about my students. Um, this is expected to be done by Wednesday, no later than Wednesday, just before midnight. Ideally, do it first thing. That's the whole point. And they need to be completed and completed in order. And in many cases, all you need to do is read it, and there'll be a little button where you can mark that it's done. And then it'll let you move on to the next thing. But these have to be completed in order. Should take, maybe 20 minutes or something like that. And then, frankly, as you move down, there's some informational things. So the syllabus is in here, information about the textbook is in this module, information about careers in geography. I encourage you, if you start to find this course interesting, then jump in and take a look at what are the possibilities for careers. The issue about weekly check-ins is discussed right here, and basically I'll give you 3 points a week. This is extra credit, but for checking in. Ideally, if you simply come to one of my student hours and check in on Zoom for 10 to 15 minutes, I'll give you 3 points without doing any additional work. But if you absolutely cannot show up live on Zoom, then you need to do a written check-in, and this will walk you through it. So check in week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. This is where I'll record your points. And then, of course, here is the first module. And all modules are similar. There's a little note here that talks about how to use the modules, but you have to go through in order. A lot of people get confused by this. They want to jump straight to the quiz. That's not how it works. They want to jump straight to the discussion. That's not how it works. You need to pass through these materials. There are some lecture videos. I've tried to make them fairly short. There are my lecture notes, which I have also written to you and made available to you by going to the college and picking up a physical copy, but they're also posted here, usually in 2 different formats. And then there's video lectures, then there's additional videos that I have curated, that I have selected because they explore topics in a little more detail. And then there's a quiz, and then there's a discussion. This is how each module works, and you have to pass through them in order. And you can't get to the discussion unless the quiz is at least 3 out of 5, although you should shoot for 5 out of 5 on every quiz. Take it, retake it until you get a perfect score, until you feel like you've seen every single question. Um, So that's how the modules work. What I've tried to do is put these in order. So there'll be a couple of modules, then there's a map quiz. I'm not going to get into discussing it. You need to go read about the map quiz. Then there'll be a homework tucked in here. And these are all in the same order that I have listed them here in the syllabus. And again, they are also, so let me go backward. They are also going to be highlighted over here in the coming up. They will also be found in the calendar if you want to know when things are due. So I've tried to put the work in front of you as obviously as possible. One last thing I really want to quickly touch on is if I click on this welcome message and video, which again, I hope that you have looked at, it mentions these mandatory first week meetings. These are 5 different times that I want you to show up in person. I will give you your credit for visiting me in my Zoom office. I'll give you the 3 points of extra credit for the week 1. Um, and it talks here, if you're not familiar with Zoom, it talks a little bit about it, gives you a link to show up on Zoom. This is the link. Um, and so hopefully people have some familiarity with how this works. But there's Monday, June 7th at 10 a.m., 1 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. and then Tuesday at 1 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. So 5 different times. Please eke out a little bit of time in your schedule and join me so that we can have a first person direct check-in. So that is, frankly, everything I can think about. Hopefully this hasn't been too long of a video. I'm excited to have you in my class. I've been teaching for almost a quarter century. As I said before, I love this job. I love to work with students. And, my goal at the end of the class is to have you um, suddenly be driving around, walking around, hiking around, and noticing your world with a little more detail and a little more curiosity. Yeah, I'm excited to have you aboard, and I wish you all the luck in the world. All right, hope to see you in my Zoom office. Take care.